No, no good one.
Everyone.
Yeah, hi everyone, and welcome to the Webby Talks, an event hosted by Dutch Digital Design, by DEPT, and also the Webby Awards, of course. It's great to see so many of you out here at DEPT Agency, but also watching the live stream. More than 100 registrations, which is a great number.
I think so.
My name is Bert Hagendoren. I'm specialized in positioning and growth strategy for creative agencies. And next to that, I am chairman and founder of the Dutch Digital Design Initiative. Dutch Digital Design. It's the stage for the very best in digital design from the Netherlands. And we showcase that via our website, via our platform, but also through many events where we share the work and share the visions of our partners, agencies, on stage from South by Southwest to Cannes Lions to the Dutch Design Week, so across the globe where we can. And we have 30 partners, of which one of them is DEPT. So, and we must say, when it comes to DEPT, we're extremely proud of them keeping the stakes high in digital from the Netherlands.
I hope so.
Yes, they do. I mean, it's the Webby Awards achievements on itself, but also the Lovey Awards, 43 awards at the Loveys.
That's right. Right, Marianne? Something like that, right?
That's right. and Agency of the Year as well, so that's amazing. 2020 was the last time Dutch Digital Design organized a Webby Talk, and so we're happy to host another one together with you. And may I introduce to you Tobias Commons.
Hey, everyone. Thanks, Bert.
Yep.
So I guess just to complement what Bert was talking about, it's a real privilege for us to be hosting this Webby Talks today. And I think it's particularly important for us this year because this year is a special year, as Bert mentioned, where we became Webby Network of the Year. And I think, to your point, underneath that were 16 awards that we were awarded, which is a whopping number. And to have achieved that, we have to be producing work that's incredibly relevant. Relevant from a marketing standpoint and relevant from an experience standpoint, whether it's digital products that we're developing or social media marketing campaigns. And as you know, a huge audience that's incredibly important and has become more and more important over time has been Gen Z, whether they are as the arbiters of what is cool and perhaps what's not cool, as well as their growing purchase power online. And that's the sort of premise for our talk today. It's to focus in on Gen Z as a topic across a few areas. And we have some amazing speakers today, one of which is Emma, and Emma is the production experience director of the Webby Awards, and her talk will be how young consumers have redefined online communities and why the future of digital is rooted in authenticity. So, please give a hand for Emma. There you go.
Hi, everybody. Oh, wow. Thank you so much for having me, and then also thank you to DEPT for hosting, along with Dutch Digital Design. We're really excited that we get to be here. Of course, huge feat for DEPT winning Network of the Year for the Webby Awards, so whoop, whoop. I wanted to shout out from the audience, but I also didn't want to interrupt. All right, so I'm going to get started. I do have 2 remotes, so I just want to make sure both are on before I go. Okay, so as was said, I'm here to present this year's Webby Talk, Never Niche Enough. We are traveling around the world. We're going to over 10 cities. We're also going to be going to over 6 countries, and we're going to be doing well over 200 talks. I personally will not be doing 200 talks. I have other people that are also working at the Webby Awards presenting talks as well. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of today's structure. So I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about the Webby Awards, and then we're going to go into this year's Webby Talk, and then we're also going to have some time at the end for Q&A. Just want to quickly thank our partners, WP Engine. They are the leading digital platform for WordPress. And then, of course, YouGov, which is a international market research firm. They helped us field a survey to 3,000 American Gen Z consumers. And I'm actually going to be sharing some of those findings with you in today's presentation. All right, so let's get started. Just having a hard time clicking through my slides, so I just want to make sure that happens before we start. Okay. All right, so little bit about the Webby Awards. We have been honoring outstanding achievement online for the last 27 years. Last year, we saw about 14,000 entries from over 70 countries. And we're presented by the International Academy of Digital Arts and Sciences. We call them IADIS. It's made up of over 3,000 leaders across the globe that is really reviewing work across websites, advertising, podcasts, social, new this year as well, immersive, virtual, and the metaverse. And I did just want to highlight some quick things because I am in the Netherlands, and I think this is interesting stuff for you guys. So we actually do an international index every year, and we like to see how other countries are being awarded across the Webby Awards. So we actually did this for a ton of countries all over the globe, but it just so happened that the Netherlands actually represented the most awarded market outside of the US in the actual Webby Awards. That was, of course, followed by the UK, Canada, Australia, Sweden, and Denmark. You should definitely check out the index because it highlights a lot more countries as well. But just wanted to also point out a couple of top entrants that were awarded at last year's Webby Awards. So Media Monks, DEPT, we have 72 and Sunny, we have Superheroes, Grr, and then we also have Studio Regal. So lots of great agencies in the mix there. And then, of course, we know that DEPT was our Network of the Year. So very exciting stuff. All right, so I'm going to get into the Webby Talk. So this presentation is informed by that survey that we did to over 3,000 consumers. It's also informed by insights that we actually have from the entries that we received in last year's Webbies. It also includes 3 months of research by the Webby Awards team. So when we're actually looking at what's happening online, we saw a ton of interesting new communities popping up, and a lot of that is actually coming from the Gen Z consumers. So we thought that was super interesting. So for anyone that's not familiar with that, that's anyone born from 1997 to 2012. And also affectionately known as Zoomers, never known as Zoomies though. Zoomies is, of course, is what happens when your dog takes off like a rocket. I'm sorry, my remote's like not really working, so I'm just gonna maybe get a little closer. Does that mess up the camera angle? Okay, great. So once we actually started digging into that, we did find out that Gen Z is popping up all over the headlines. It's obviously with what they're streaming. They actually want to know how people are, how they're working. Right now, they encompass about 7.3 million full-time employees. They're also really concerned with how they're voting and even why they despise email. Thank you. But why do we care? Perhaps because Gen Z has the buying power. In fact, they have over $360 billion in disposable income to spend, and that's making up about 40% of the global population. But us, why do we care? We actually want to know how they're spending their time online, and we actually notice that they're flocking to these niche communities, but not just any communities. They're going niche, really hitting that sweet spot between what they love and also things they love. So in one of our many brainstorms, Steve, who's one of my coworkers, he was actually trying to get his son Nicholas to get off the computer one night. Nicholas is a huge maker, Discord user, and all-around whiz kid. He actually thought he knew all the platforms that Nick was on. He was wrong, though. So he was actually chatting with some of his friends one evening, and he was like, all right, man, like, time to get off Twitch, go to bed. He's like, I'm not on Twitch. He's like, all right, fine, like, get off Discord. And he's like, I'm not on Discord. He's like, all right, fine, get off Minecraft. He's like, I'm not on Minecraft. Do you know what Nicholas was on, though? Leeches. Leeches is an open source chess server. So actually, Nicholas spends about 8 hours a day playing with his friends on the Discord server. And Bedtime Battle, of course, is a funny story, but I also think it drives home the fact that younger people are actually shifting to these niche communities. They're shifting away from the internet monoculture and really flocking to these niche networks. So we actually decided to dive into why that is, which is why I brought you Never Niche Enough, Saddies, Baddies, Pothole Protestors, and Foraging Fiends, how young consumers have redefined online communities, and why the future of digital is rooted in authenticity. So just to level set, what is a niche platform or community? Usually they're hyper interest driven, they're often independent, and at times they can be private or invite only. But we actually have a ton of communities that we're going to highlight today, so I'm just going to actually shout out a couple of my favorites. So this is communities for niche hobbies, like this one, for example. This is Student Hub's Discord channel, #typing. Here, about 1,500 members bond over their monkey-type performance scores. This is another one. This is on Geneva, the chat app. It's called Material Girls. It actually is a crafting community where people can share what they've created with textiles, including this pickle bag. There's also tons of communities out there for unexpected interests. So this one, for example, this is #foraging TikTok. So actually, this has a huge pull. So Alexis Nicole Nelson, they call her the Black Forager. She actually will teach others how to pick the right fungi or right seaweed. And it is niche, but it's a huge community. In fact, Foraging TikTok has about 96 million views, and she alone has about 4 million subscribers. There's also an educational part of TikTok. This is called City Talks. So here, people are actually turning into urban planners or architectural enthusiasts, or they're actually just simply lamenting about why suburban design has left them feeling lonely. And then there's also tons of communities out there for fandoms, new generations of creators, like this one, for example. This is a South Korean-based comic called Webtoons. The idea here is that they really like digital compact comics, and it's actually attracting a huge audience of young women internet users. Perfect example of this is this one by Instant Miso. The series is about how a dream eater falls in love with an insomniac, and it has tons of views, and she has about 1 million subscribers. There's also tons of just communities out there that are just, well, weird. So this one, for example, this is Dolphin Town. Dolphin Town has found its home on Mastodon. If you don't know what Mastodon is, it's like a decentralized Twitter. Actually, tons of people are flocking there as of the last week. And on this community, the only letter you can use is E. Yes, you heard that correctly. It's E! And that's all you say. It's just ongoing conversations, just using the letter E. And then this is another one, another weird one. It's called Bread on a Tree. It's a Reddit thread of over 3,000 people where all you do is post pictures of bread stapled to a tree. Here are a few examples. It's a really supportive community. In fact, this post actually got about 900 upvotes, including tons of comments, including this one where they said they can really feel the stapler's presence. But how did we get there? Well, there are actually tons of motivators on why we have become the way that we have. And the first one is that we're online all the time, right? So Gen Z consumers, though, are actually chronically online. So in fact, we did a survey with YouGov in August 2022, and we found out that 41% of the people are online at least 21 hours a week. 42% of them are actually online at least 35 hours a week, and a surprisingly 16% are online at least 35 to 49 hours a week. That's about the time spent at a full-time job. The other thing is that as digital natives, Gen Z has always had access to the internet. They've always had access to mobile systems and social media networks. So they are using these tools and decentralized apps to connect with each other. So we actually wanted to ask the people, ask the younger survey respondents, actually when they actually got online to begin with. So we found out that 41% of them have actually been on social media between the ages of 12 and 14, when in fact 24% of them were actually on social media before the age of 11. And also according to Pew, we found out that all teens, or most teens 13 to 17 years old, now have access to a smartphone in 2022. That's up 22% in less than 8 years. Gen Z is also using tech to connect, right? It's really integrated in the friendships they're creating and how they're actually communicating with others. So it's especially true when meeting somebody in person wasn't possible for those few years during the pandemic. So we wanted to ask Gen Z where they're actually finding their friends, where they're finding their community. We found out that 33% of them are actually finding their friends on social media or online groups. We found out 29% of them are finding their friends in video games. And then 29% of them are actually finding friends through work. That's actually higher than any school or interest organization or any athletic club that they might be part of. And finally, sorry, just flipping through. Finally, niche communities are really thriving on this idea of collective individualism. So they're really placing a higher value on individual expression and actually this radical inclusivity. So there is no surprise that it actually happens to be one of the most diverse generations in history. This is true when it comes to their racial identity. It's true when it comes to their ethnicity. And it also is true when it comes to their sexual orientation and actually how they see themselves. So they're actually feeling really more empowered to be their authentic selves. We actually think that this really sums up the shift that is happening. Whereas millennials grew up performing online, curated Instagram grids, LinkedIn job announcements like some exciting personal news, the rise of the personal brand, Gen Z is really eschewing performance for authenticity. And honestly, in terms of relatability, they're really finding it in these online experiences, and they're actually preferring content over aspiration. They're more Generation We versus millennials like myself are more Generation Me. Just to recap how we got there, they are online all the time. They've always had these digital tools and these social networks in place, and they are the most diverse generation in history, so they are really valuing that individuality. And then, of course, online is actually where they're going to actually connect and make these deeper connections. But let's actually talk about what's motivating them, right? What's motivating these consumers? They're actually supplementing their online experiences, like I said, with these niche platforms, with these hyper interest-driven platforms. So they're actually finding more value in them. And they're really flocking to these communities on the internet, and it actually probably reflects a bigger digital moment that we're in. So we actually wanted to survey our respondents, and we actually distilled it down to 4 things that they're looking for within niche spaces. They're looking for connection and belonging. They're looking for that creativity and that DIY ethos. They're looking for safety and privacy, and they're also looking for authenticity. So connection and belonging is actually really important, and we see this a ton in the fandom and the interest-driven communities, but they're actually connecting over shared experiences, and online communities are actually validating them. It actually helps them understand that these experiences that they're having don't just exist in a vacuum. So one way that they're actually doing that with connection is through this. This is Saddie's Baddies. It's an online community, and it's actually on the chat app Geneva. If you're familiar with Geneva, it actually launched in 2020. The idea behind the app is that it describes itself as an all-in-one communication app that's designed and operated to actually keep these ongoing conversations with your favorite people. So this is the Saddie Baddies community. This was actually founded by Priscilla Eierman. She's a public health professional, and the idea here is that they describe themselves as a sanctuary for Black and multiracial people to actually destigmatize mental health topics. The pull to Geneva is actually having these private chats and these ongoing conversations, but within a controlled space. This community has 1,500 members, and it is continually growing. Another motivator for them is actually supporting creativity, but they're doing it with a DIY ethos. So 84% of our respondents actually said that that's a huge motivator for them, and they're also feeling like it's part of doing it with a DIY ethos as well. So it's no surprise that Y2K is back. So the idea of these like concert tees and these Thrasher shirts, low-rise jeans, micro minis, all of that stuff is back. But what does this have to do with the internet? Well, in fact, there is nostalgia behind that, and this actually really encapsulates that. So Sean Monahan said, nostalgia for that freewheeling internet of the early 2000s. That DIY ethos is why they actually like the Y2K fashion. So this is another example So this is another example of work that's doing that. This is Virtual Care Lab. This is actually supporting community-led experimental programs that are remote and open to the public. One of their projects is actually this decentralized reading group. It's called Bread, and they're actually encouraging people to read in real life, but also read online, and they're actually providing additional resources on this content-saving app Arena, and they're also hosting weekly lab hours as well. That's really helping imagine digital projects that are rooted in care. There's also a ton that's taking place in the Web3 community. So an example of that is this project. This is the Fringe. It's actually a sci-fi universe that's being built by a web community of over 9,000 people, and it was created by a group of filmmakers, and the whole community is actually providing input for their immersive film. Another motivator for them is that they're flocking to these niche communities for safer online experiences. So we actually wanted to ask them, we feel like this was super important, so we went deep with YouGov on this. So we found out that 45% of the respondents are concerned about the privacy of their personal information, whereas 41% are concerned about, 41% are concerned about their data security or being hacked. 40% of the consumers are concerned about bullying and being harassed. Not far behind this, actually, is an even darker concern, which is predatory behavior. And as I said, 54% are actually being harassed on social media. So there's a couple platforms in place that are helping mitigate this. One platform is Chill Pill. This has really taken off as a way to form communities that are focused on mental health. It is a audio and chat-based app. It's really creating a safe space for people to talk with each other and share without video and without their real names. It's actually currently only available for Gen Z women and non-binary women for up to 24 years old. But for this, I think this calls into mind the necessity of appropriate moderation, right? It's actually, we need those safety levers in place that can help prevent this toxic behavior from ruining platforms like Yik Yak. And lastly, above all, young consumers are really looking for authenticity in the platforms they're engaging with, and it's actually the ultimate motivator for them, and it's tying into all facets of this community experience. It's also a feature that's hardest to find. So 39% of our respondents think that the internet is authentic or inclusive. That's actually a way more positive outlook than a lot of the older generation. They think about 10% think that the internet is authentic or inclusive. So one way that actually like people are building this and actually like being authentic is with this app called Be Real, and that's actually the promise that Be Real gives you. Not sure how many people here do have Be Real. Sure, there's a few people in the audience, but it really has exploded as a new social media platform. The idea behind the app is that it actually alerts you every day. The idea is that you send a it takes a picture of your front and your back camera, and that the idea is that it shows your unpolished life. Actually, some of us are really getting involved, and the chance to actually capture that mundane and real part of life is really what's made the app really successful. In July, they already had 7 million active users. There are even some millennials and Gen Xers that are getting involved, as you can see by my colleagues in the middle. But Gen Z are really building communities, right? They're really valuing connection. They're really valuing creativity. They're valuing their privacy. They're valuing their authenticity. And the good news is that they're actually open to brands participating if they're doing it in the right way. So 34% of our respondents actually feel like brands can authentically participate in their communities. So we actually wanted to highlight some brands that are doing that. And we've actually broken it down into 3 areas for you today. So they're building on communities, they're activating communities, and they're also embracing fandom. So just to start with the first, we're going to start with building communities. So some brands are actually dipping their toes in these communities before they build their own. So a perfect example of that is Chipotle. They're really known for their guerrilla marketing. In fact, they've brought tons of value in new communities, and they're doing it in a lot of different ways. Like this, for example, they dropped a ton of free food on Be Real to all their friends. They also created a career fair on Discord. There are also tons of brands out there that are fostering fandom communities for their IP. An example of that is Netflix. They're particularly clever with this and their marketing that they do for Stranger Things. They released a ton of custom avatars for Reddit. And they also found a home for the Stranger fans to actually talk about their favorite show and connect with topics like the death of the Choco Taco. And Wendy's is another brand that's actually been really open to experimenting with new technologies and audience engagement. And more recently, Wendy's actually has gotten involved in the tight-knit gaming community. So they actually started with creating a Wendy's avatar in Fortnite. The idea here is that Fortnite had already introduced this new mode called Food Fight, and they really saw an organic way to insert themselves into the marketing and into the audience. So the way they did it is they actually found out that the in-game restaurant in Fortnite was storing all of their virtual beef in virtual freezers. And if you know Wendy's slogan, it's fresh, never frozen. So they actually went about destroying every freezer live on Fortnite, and they prompted a ton of gamers to do the same. That was just the beginning for them. They actually really blew up and started playing any game under the sun. And they also had tons of gamers jumping in and creating their own like custom themed levels and Wendy's avatars. Just on the results side, this was a super successful campaign for them. They had about 981 million level downloads. They had about 988,000 custom in-game content downloads, about 9.8 million minutes watched on Twitch. And they also hit the top 1% of all Twitch streamers. That's really challenging for a brand to do. And then also, according to YouGov's brand index, since 2022, the buzz scores are actually average more than double those of the national population. There's also a really huge opportunity to harness niche communities, actually tap in and create ways that are actually aligning with people's interests and things they're passionate about. So one way they're doing that is through this project. So in our survey that we conducted, we found out that one of the top 3 issues for Gen Z is the climate crisis. So Snapchat actually partnered with Australia's Great Barrier Reef, and they tapped into a generation concerned about the crisis and actually wanted to turn them into activists. So the idea here is that the foundation actually had a mission, right? They had a mission to plant 10 million heat-resistant coral by 2030. If you're unfamiliar with what's happening in the Great Barrier Reef right now, they've had about 3 massive bleaching incidents in the last 5 years. It is unfortunately dying. So they actually worked with Snap. They created this augmented reality lens, and it actually lets people see the impact of bleaching at their fingertips and then breathe life into it and regenerate the reef. From there, and experiencing that regeneration, the community was then asked to pledge to protect it. So really great results on this. 91 million people reached, about 837,000 pledges signed to protect the reef. Most importantly, though, the Australian government injected an additional $1 billion into the regeneration of the reef. And they had about 180 press stories. We've also seen a ton of great entertainment examples. So this is really brands that are tapping in and activating communities over the last year. This one in particular tickled us. So this actually, this past summer, over July 4th weekend, they released Minions: The Rise of Gru. And in just that weekend alone, they shattered the box office, about $125 million they raked in. And it actually happened partly because of this TikTok trend. They're calling it #GentleMinions, which seemed totally organic. So it actually all started with this guy, Bill Hurst. Him and his friends went to the premiere dressed in suits. And from there, the video trended, and then tons of Gentle Minions started rolling up to the movie theaters. And then obviously the press started to pick it up. And then thousands of Gentle Minions came out to watch the movie, but they actually started to get a little like rowdy and disruptive. So some theaters were like, all right, let's promote this, let's do special screenings, while others were saying that they wouldn't be tolerated or even admitted. But the meme took off so fast. It looked really viral. It looked really organic. But in fact, there was actually a strategic marketing team behind it who had actually been engaging with that community of fans for a year prior to the release. So the Minions social team, they started their TikTok just a year before the release. In just 10 months, they had about 2.5 million followers. They're attributing that to careful content creation, but also just a huge community management effort. They really lent into the nostalgia and the connection that Gen Z already had with that franchise. And the idea was that because of that, it was so memeable. So when the original video was actually uploaded by Bill Hurst, the social team jumped on it immediately. They dropped this crown comment in the comments, started getting tagged in meme posts, and then the trend just kicked off. While it actually did occur organically with Bill attending in a suit, it was optimized by using that phrase, #GentleMinions. And then, of course, on the day of the release, Otto, he's the new minion in the movie. He decided to post a video of him looking out from a skyscraper to all the suit-clad youth and letting them know, "Bob Speed, you gentle minions." Results on this were really, really great. So they had about 170 million views on TikTok. They also garnered $500 million in the box office in just 2 weeks alone. And then also people from all over the world participated, from Singapore to Portugal. And lastly, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about embracing fandom. This is one way that they're tapping into this community. This is a brand of someone that does a really good job of actually tapping into an existing fan base. Duolingo has really been successful at gamifying their languages. They do it a lot on TikTok. And earlier this summer, they actually released a collaboration with HBO Max's The House of the Dragon. And if you're unfamiliar with the course, it debuted in 2019. It's a High Valerian course on the Duolingo app. And since the launch of the new show, they expanded it to 400 words and phrases. They announced the official collaboration in mid-July with 514,000 people actively learning High Valerian on the platform. The company said that number has increased by 155% during the collaboration. Not only, though, did Duolingo offer 2 free months to paid Duolingo subscribers, they also did it to the HBO subscribers as well. And with that, they actually created an augmented reality app. They did this with the guys out in San Francisco, Niantic. They created Pokemon Go. The app is actually powered to use phrases that people learned through the Duolingo sessions. The dragons only respond to commands in High Valerian. We think this quote from Duolingo really underlines the importance and the opportunity of actually tapping into these fandoms. So we actually try to find moments in culture where there are these cult audiences, these cohorts of people who are hardcore fans about something. We try and resonate with them because when we can, it inspires identification with them and our brand, and they almost become ambassadors for us. So that in itself becomes a piece of content that they can then share and engage with that community. Just some top-level results from this project. Now they have about 600,000 people actively learning High Valerian. That doesn't include the people that already actually took the course and went through it. And about 43% of these signups actually began to study another language from this. That was really successful for them. So just some takeaways from today's conversations. So, communities are really these opportunities to connect intimately with loyal fans, to build around shared interests and beyond. There really is a real opportunity here to learn and develop new products and really understanding these niche communities. Authenticity, though, it's really valued from all participants above all else. And building a community is a commitment. You really need to understand the space that you're entering into. Take it from a brand like Gucci. It's not a one-off PR stunt or a one-off marketing campaign. It's a year-round commitment, and community members are really valuing this consistent connection. But if you remember nothing from today's conversation, just remember that this is the first truly digital native generation. They are leading a movement to build online spaces that are making them feel more connected and making them feel better. As the most diverse generation in history, they're really valuing authenticity from these communities. So we only expect the importance of niche communities to continue to rise in the future. So let's join Generation We. Let's put on some low-rise jeans, a trucker hat, and stable some bread to a tree. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you to the team for hosting me. Just a quick note, we also do have a final entry deadline coming up for the Webby Awards. So we want to see all your best work. We want to see your best internet. So that is December 16th. Enter at webbyawards.com. Thank you.
Awesome. Another hand for Emma. Just a moment. I also wanted to offer an opportunity for questions.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant talk. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
No pressure.
Questions in High Valerian, maybe? No? No?
No pressure, but also happy to answer anything that you have.
Yeah. Well, all right. In that case, that's all good. Thank you again so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Amazing. All right. Next up, we've got our very own Levi, who's joining us to talk about meme marketing and shit posting. I mean, why not? And Levi is our very own from DEPT. He works on social creative here in the building, and he's repping Gen Z himself. So, Levi, over to you, my friend.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening for when and whenever you are watching. My presentation will be a video, and I guess I'll just start it up, and afterwards I will do a little Q&A for those who have questions or are wondering about what we do and about how meme marketing will affect your business. Yes. All right, to start off on the right foot, interactivity. Everyone raise your hand. Get those fingers up. Yes, I mean it. You at home as well. All right. We're going to show you some memes. And if you don't know the meme, you put a finger down. Let's see who's been memeing for a while.
For me, I really like cone.
What do you like about corn?
It's cone. A big lump it knobs. It has to choose. I got a more beautiful thing. It's cone. I can tell you all about it. I mean, look at this thing. When I tried it, I don't anything change.
If you don't know this one, it's probably good you're here. On to fragment 2. People that put a finger down on this meme probably haven't found the add picture button on their WhatsApp yet. Vine era has been reached. No shame in putting your finger down now. And last but not least, if you know the name of this character, you're an OG. Still holding up some fingers? Perfect. You deserve a sticker. Here you go. Let's get started with some information. The official term meme is an invention by Richard Dawkins. This biologist specialized in evolution named meme after the Greek mimema, which means to imitate. Dawkins says that memes are being defined by their compact information, repetition, recognizability, and most of all, their evolution. That is the reason why Gen Z is so attached and attracted to memes. The simple fact that they keep changing and evolving over time. The second best reason is that memes can correspond with current events, which plays a huge role in their likability. Most of the memes are saying what the general public aren't. Besides that, memes are giving young people a new way of communicating and sharing their ideas and feelings with like-minded people. But the memes and posts we see and know nowadays have had to come a long way. It started with the flourishing of the internet and image boards like 4chan and 9gag, where people could share their creations and their opinions about other people's creations. Today's world is filled with people who have strong opinions, and due to the internet, everyone can share their opinion. With other words, the internet is filled with conversations and discussions. You know what attracts conversations and discussions? Internet trolls and shitposting. Shitposting revolves around disrupting the conversation in one way or another. This can be done by reacting randomly and very off-topic, sharing false information, or just plainly by offending people in the conversation. The goal? To provoke, confuse, or entertain. This is completely different for every person partaking in the conversation. Shitposting has developed over the years into a tool that, especially in the Vine era, created a wide variety of entertainment. A funny example of shitposting used for commercial purposes is this one from IKEA, with a nice data inside as well.
This is a bedtime story about how everyone stopped caring about sleep and me telling them to stop acting crazy, go to sleep. Exactly. Look at my hat. It starts online where I directly told people who were still up late watching YouTube to go sleep. Why are you not asleep? It's almost 10:45 p.m. No matter what time of night it was. It's 1:36 a.m. It's almost 2:15 a.m. I even told them exactly when IKEA opened in the morning. Do you not have a relaxing mattress with high resilience foam? Get one when IKEA opens in 6 hours and 30 minutes, 11 hours and 15 minutes, 7 hours and 45 minutes. All kinds of video categories were targeted, like cat videos and cooking and football, both kinds, targeting everyone watching the Super Bowl and UEFA Champions League. More cat videos, more cooking videos, go sleep. Next chapter, tweets. People were impressed and freaked out at how I knew exactly what time they were doing whatever and where. They said things like, IKEA knows I have insomnia and a shitty mattress. And I got scared and laughed out loud at the same time. Or when they went outside, help, IKEA just became my new stalker. Now this part is really juicy. We had a 672% lift in product interest. Crazy. 108% increase in brand interest. Whoa. 96% viewability. What's viewability? Story time is now over. Go to sleep.
I guess I would feel fooled as well. I was just watching some people making a house in the woods at 2 a.m. at night. Leave me alone, IKEA. Time for some more interaction. Let's raise both of your hands now. Come on, raise them like if you want to reach the sun. Everyone raising their hands? Perfect! You can all lower them now. Who in their right mind takes directions from a creepy voiceover video revolving around shitposting? If shitposting had a physical form, this would be it. I am wondering what you're looking like at home, with your hands above your heads. Like we just saw, memes and shitposting can be more than just digital assets. They can become part of our culture and everyday life. This also has been going on for some time now. How does this sentence end? Keep your change, you We are imitating memes in real life. How many times over the past 2 months have you been singing
It's cold.
to yourself as soon as you saw some corn, right? In this way, memes become a part of our everyday life. Something which we within our friend groups want to share. To understand and use these actualities for memes, we created a special unit within DEPT called Cultural Content. This team, filled with meme kings, queens, and everything in betweens, keeps us up to date with everything that's trending at this very moment. We make this cultural content because we see that memes and shitposts are more than just comedy. These are reflections of recognizable social actualities that with humor get blown up or trivialized.
With cultural content and meme marketing, we play in on brand favorability. By creating authentic content, we resonate with the target audience. This is the main goal. Humor is just a vessel. Of course, we also need to incorporate our client within this content, but this really needs to be in a thoughtful way. People understand that they are looking at branded content. We don't want to add to this feeling, we want to provide some value to the viewer. In our case, this is humor, recognizability, and shareability. For our meme section, we've created a construct. Because recognizability and repetition are two of the founding pillars of memes, these constructs help us create a solid base for these memes. For Pathé, a Dutch cinema, for instance, this is combining video or TV-related subjects with A. Images that enlarge situations, B. screen caps from movies or series. And C, products or services of Pathé. We also do this for ball.com, a web shop for literally everything. But the result is that we create social accounts without any links to products or services. We need to focus purely on creating this cultural content without trying to convince our viewers to buy products. To achieve this, we need a wide variety of constructs to provide for enough alteration. This means either images with simple product and text within cultural relevance, to debatable life hacks and sung reviews. Shitposting every now and again really helps with breaking the patterns in which memes can communicate. This way you keep the platform fresh and exciting even for long-time followers. Not everything needs to be set in stone. For instance, we accidentally made Dicky Dick the unofficial digital mascot on TikTok for a little while. And we put a colleague in a Pikachu suit. Why? Yes!
The moral of the story is that we want to be seen, loved, and liked. I meant it that way. And to be seen and loved, we keep on trying to be on top of what is happening in the lives of our target audience, Gen Z. Is it as easy as we just made it look? I don't know. But you can always start memeing on your own. Take your favorite family pic, a filled pancake photo, or zoomed-in government picture, and you're all set. Take over from my creepy voice-over video. Are there any questions? If not, I think I'll be happy just to give the podium to the stage. I'm sorry, to Tobias again. And thank you very much for watching.
Well, I guess that's it, folks. Thanks so much for joining. Libby, also thank you so much for that. It was absolutely hilarious. Well, look, that sort of takes us to our close. For folks at home, thanks for dialing in. And I look forward to seeing you next time together with Bert from Dutch Digital Design if we ever host the Webby Talks again. But thanks for having us. All right.
In deze afgeschermde love boots kunnen de singles elkaar leren kennen. Ze kunnen elkaar vragen stellen, maar ze kunnen elkaar niet zien. En als ze een match hebben, dan komen ze naar buiten met dit hartje. Nou, ik ben heel erg benieuwd of dit gaat lukken. Ik ga op zoek naar wat singles.